This is Keyed In with Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. And now, here are your hosts, Max Rabin and Brent Jackson.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Keyed In podcast. I'm your host, Max Rabin.
And I'm Brent Jackson.
So today we're joined by Jen and Tim Touchette. The Touchettes have a hold on real estate in Washington, D.C. Jen's business is as an agent with Compass Real Estate. She's with the Partners team. The Partners team is a group of top-notch agents. And Tim owns a company, Stay Attache. They might be the best providers of short-term corporate housing in the DC metro region. Basically, everyone who needs short-term housing, whether they're coming through the city or maybe they need a place to stay while they're renovating a place, should know Tim. So a lot of success here, a lot of great things we're going to talk about. Welcome, Jen and Tim. A technical malfunction with our audio recording has shortened today's episode. Please understand that the beginning of our conversation with the Touchettes is missing from this recording, and we apologize for that.
Or selling air.
And so I moved here. I took a circuitous route, but eventually moved here. And we both had a love of real estate. In fact, we put an offer on our first house, I think a week before we were actually engaged. We were afraid to tell the parents if that timing is right. So we're like, oh, now we have to get married because we wanted to jointly own this property.
Lucky it worked out, right?
Yeah. And, it was a 3-bedroom and we rented a spare room out because we're used to being poor college kids together and just kind of, trying to figure out a way to make ends meet. So.
Yeah, and I think our parents, when they got started, they had a duplex where they rented half and lived in half. So that was our mindset. So I remember back then you would put an ad in the Washington Post and we interviewed like 42 candidates to come and we ended up settling on a University of Missouri grad.
So you were talking about, you interviewed a bunch of people.
We did,
48
yes.
people, yeah.
And so we had a gentleman who was a reporter at USA Today. He worked overnights. And so we would be getting up in the morning to go to work and he would be coming home from work and remember he'd pop a beer and enjoy his day. And he paid us $800 a month and we never saw him. And so that kind of got us started initially, I think, on being investors and really appreciating the Washington market.
Yeah. And also, I think both of our parents, even though her parents were in, I guess, Denver and mine were in Southern Illinois. Their first houses were duplexes. And, it was that concept of, hey, live and save up a little bit of money, pay more, but then live basically rent free if the numbers make sense. And that struck me as that makes a lot of sense, because you need a place to live and, if you can reduce your housing costs and not have to have a roommate. So that first property we bought had everything we wanted except a separate rental unit. And so that's how we got to, let's just rent out a spare bedroom. And that kind of got us started.
So this time you guys have jobs outside of real estate, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This was 99. We bought our first house. Yeah. So city's been good to us.
So did you start buying more properties after this?
Yes.
So you just continued on this track of investing?
Yes. Jen's pretty good at sales. And so in her radio business, she was making money and we decided to invest that into real estate because I had a penchant for being interested in that and I had more flexibility with my job. And so I was managing our properties on the side and while working full time, but then, we started adding more. And then when our son was born, I went from part-time to full-time, a full-time stay-at-home dad, part-time business owner. And, and as that grew, ended up getting help with watching my son. And, then it just kind of grew over time. And I remember taking my son in a little car seat to a couple showings early on.
Yeah. And we really just started small, right? It was when you had some money. We bought a studio here, a 1-bedroom there, that sort of thing.
So all kinds of different rental properties. You weren't just sort of narrowing yourself to, it has to be a fee simple duplex or it could be a condo. If the numbers made sense, you were interested.
That's right. And sometimes the numbers didn't even make sense initially. We could outbid other people. Sometimes we bought low, sometimes we bought high, but we knew we were in it for the long game.
Right.
To hold. And then of course my husband built beautiful business of short-term furnished rentals.
Hmm.
And so that was kind of the path that we saw forward where we could maximize income.
So how many properties did you guys get to before you started the management business? Do you know?
Well, I mean, we managed the 2 investment properties of our own and probably like 3 or 4 others before I, officially kind of set everything up. And then it just started growing slowly.
Mhm.
I mean, I remember maybe after the first year I had like 17 and I thought I was just like really big, and it's just, it's all perception. And then just over time, it was just, we started acquiring more and, yeah, it's been a good run.
Yeah.
So the first year you had 17, you said 2 of your own. Like, where did the other 15 people, how did you get to those 15 people?
Kind of word of mouth a little
Word of
bit, just like talking to people and, trying to set up this niche. At the beginning, I was managing any property, right, all to unfurnished or furnished. And then I I liked the idea of furnished just as a different differentiator because I don't like excuses when people can't pay the rent. And so when you have businesses rent, you don't have to chase after rent checks as much. Plus, the clientele who rent typically are these interesting business people from all over the world. And I was like, well, if I'm going to set this up, I knew it was going to be a longer trajectory to grow it because there's just fewer of them out there. But I felt, I have the time and the effort into building out a niche. It was going to be worth the effort.
So, tell us a little bit about how if you're starting to manage that many units, and you decided to create the company again, the company's called Stay Attache. How did you begin to grow a team to manage all of these rentals? And you're obviously your company's extremely successful. So the management aspect of it and making sure all these things are done correctly is huge because if you don't do a good job, you're going downhill fast. People will say like they're the worst. So,
Correct.
So how do you find the right kind of people to work in this business? Because property management, we know, is tough.
It's tough. And I mean, and I degree in journalism and, I think there is maybe some benefit for me not going to business school to kind of work on figuring out, my first hire was an accounting person because I knew right away, that's not my forte. And so hiring the people was a lot of trial and error. When you start out, you're scrappy. And so you hire the people who will accept almost the lowest salary possible, and you learn quickly where they'll stop showing up or they'll steal from you, and so you have those experiences, and then you kind of figure out, okay, maybe if I pay more. So it's really just been a lot of trial and error, and and I think being true to your word is, I think a lot of people like when they meet with me and know that I'm available. I've been in the business for a while, and so that there's a lot of uncertainty in the market because of our nature. We're monthly. We have to we compete all the time for business, right? If places sit vacant too long, we don't manage the property anymore. So we're always working to get places rented. So we have that good hustle, and the people who work at Attache know about that, and they share that approach.
What's the composition of your team at Stay Attache?
So we have a management level of someone overseeing owners, owner acquisition, property services, leasing and reservations, and then accounting. So we kind of have a team of 4 managers and then kind of folks below each division.
Okay.
So, Jen, as you guys were getting into the management of your properties and other properties, so when did you shift to sales in real estate?
Right. So the mid 2000s, I got my license because at that point we were just buying a couple properties, and I thought, why am I paying a realtor? Might as well get my license.
Right.
So I kept it active. And then I guess around maybe 2012, I transitioned out of radio and went full time to work for my uncle, who's a standalone realtor out in Virginia.
Okay.
And then I'd already had my DC license. I got Virginia, did that for a few years. But after a while, right, I needed relief. We love to travel, and he wasn't necessarily coming in to do an open house for me, understandably. So then I transitioned and started interviewing with some teams, including your team, TTR. Spoke to some teams at Compass, that sort of thing, and just kind of tried to figure out where I plugged in the best. And so ultimately I went to Compass and I joined a team of women, and we're currently a team of 9. We have 6 full-time agents and 3 full-time people on the back end called your
It's
partners.
a team of there's some of the best agents in the city on your team.
Ah, thank you.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, they're great.
Thank you.
Always love working with them. And you, of course.
I want to chime in real quick. I think it's interesting our different approaches, where I was pushing Jen, hey, start your own brokerage, start your own, and all this stuff. And really her skill set is in selling, right? And so since what she was doing with her uncle was working, but then it also she was doing a lot of the back end, a lot of the logistics, a lot of the activities that took her away from selling. And really, it is kind of finding out, I was kind of encouraging her to do her own thing, but really, what she's really gives her joy and lots of excitement and energy is the sales. And she's just loves being with people and stuff. And so having a supportive team and having the right environment really just was outstanding for her.
Thank you, babe. I would be a terrible entrepreneur. That's all you. Running a company, managing people.
It's a very different skill set.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
Yes.
I know. You should have heard us preparing for this. We were talking early this morning. We get up around 5:30. And Tim's like, I'm going to go to the office. I've got a morning routine. I'm going to write down answers for, and I said, really? I've got to head out to an appointment. I'm just going to wing it.
It's going to pop in by the time we start.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
we do a little bit of both, just so you know.
yes.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of a toggle back and forth? Like you wanted her to open up shop underneath Stay Attache?
Yeah. And, I mean, it was an effort that it worked, but it wasn't thriving, right? And so it just made sense for her to join a team at that point. So, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about competition in the marketplace for Stay Attache and short-term rentals. Obviously, you've been doing this for, I guess, well over 10 years. What about a company like Airbnb, who's kind of turned everyone's property into a short-term corporate rental potentially? So how have you weathered that storm of a little disruption?
Well, the first biggest thing is that we don't do less than 30 days. And really, Airbnb and the other vacation rental markets, their bread and butter are nightly, weekly rentals. And, you also look at the numbers, the rates are much higher than 30 days. And so when that first came around, we looked at it a little bit, but also I think we were well established enough not to chase after what I call low-hanging fruit. And, also knowing that, the terms were kind of in violation of residential zoning laws, right? And other, restrictions that could be forthcoming. And I think transitioning from nightly, weekly to monthly is hard. And so that's kind of our first really differentiator, is that we target, 30 days plus. Our average stay is between 3 and 4 months. Sure. And, and so owners that we work with know this, and they want that as well. And then owners who want the nightly, weekly rentals, there's plenty of providers out there.
Sure.
And I can speak from experience. I don't like to do rentals. I mean, I just don't like to do them.
Yeah.
I actually had a phone call today, and it's like anybody that ever calls me, the first thing I'm like is, I don't do rentals, but I got a great company that we work with. And the numbers that you guys get, whether it's in like Navy Yard, Capitol Hill, DuPont, West End, I mean, it's insane. And I tell them that. I'm like, we're going to put your house on the market for $5,000 and it's going to be challenging. These guys will put it on for $10,000 and it'll be under contract in a week. I don't know how they do it, but it's better if you go with them.
Oh, thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much. Love it. Yeah.
But that's a great question,
awesome.
though. So you're obviously, short-term rentals, obviously the rates are going to be different than a long-term rental.
Yes.
Because people's needs. So how are you consistently, while being competitive in the marketplace, like getting top dollar? Like tell us a little bit about how your network and how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, a lot of people are like, well, how do you find your clients, right? How do you find your business travelers, And really, it's been doing this long enough and just setting up, relationships with businesses and embassies and the various companies out there, and so it's that, and it's just kind of paying attention to what the market does. The market changes all the time, and to be competitive, we try to find that sweet spot of the highest amount of rent with the least amount of vacancy. Because people can tout these ridiculously high nightly rates if they're doing vacation rentals, and then the question is, then what's the occupancy rate? And so we're always kind of working with owners for that. And I will tell you, our market is not always. Money is usually the number one factor, right? But sometimes it's like money and then flexibility. I want to be able to come back. Maybe it's money and then it's I want kind of higher quality tenants, and items like that. And so really when I meet with an owner, it's kind of finding out what's their most important role, and then I'll tell them kind of what we offer and see if it's a good fit. But I just think, to answer your question, just being in the business long enough to know kind of how to price it so that and paying attention to the competition.
Totally.
Do you guys do unfurnished at all?
So technically, I think we have about 5 or 6 unfurnished in our inventory. So we'll do that kind of usually if a client we have has one, we'll add it. But if someone has an unfurnished, we'll usually not take that on. So yeah, that's kind of how we function.
Do you guys have other vendors you work with as far as like if you get an unfurnished house in Georgetown, it's gorgeous and it's the owner says I have furniture. Do you guys work with vendors that would stage it for you?
Yeah. So it's interesting lately. I'll give you an example. We have a guy who bought a house right on 3rd Street Northeast in Capitol Hill. Great location. And he wants to do some pretty major work to it. It's in good shape, but he wants to blow out the basement and do all this stuff. And it's, he knows it's going to be a year or more for permits. And so to answer your question, we usually have someone that, do you want to rent furniture or do you want to buy furniture? But in this instance, he did a hybrid approach where he rented the big items, the couches and stuff, and then he also bought the smaller items, because what's going to happen is when construction starts, the rental company is going to take all the big items out and they'll be able to put all the smaller items into storage. And so, but by and large, most of our owners buy the furniture instead of renting. There are times when it makes sense, and it's usually a financial decision. But we have an interior designer who specializes in furnishing for investment properties. And that's a hard niche too, because most interior designers they only work with kind of high net worth individuals who can afford an interior designer. So they're selling them a $400 trash can. It's really nice and decorative, but doesn't make sense for a furnished rental. And so to find an interior designer who can understand that market is important.
That's awesome.
Do you guys have a cutoff? I'm just thinking because I cut a check yesterday for one of our agents and it was $622 for a rental. I'm like, the time and the money and energy you put into that for a check for $622. I think it was like total. It was front and back, so like a $1,200 studio over in Cleveland Park. I'm just like, wow, that's insane. But do you guys have a cutoff on like you're not going to look at anything that's?
Yeah, well, it's usually self-selective. We really don't rent for anything below $2,500, and that's where our studios start. And and we're really kind of. The ones that we do have that are in that price range are because owners are okay with lower rents, and they're more flexible. They care more about the flexibility than the money, and so there are reasons if places are priced that low. But we do try to keep, not take on properties that would be at that level.
What about location? I know you guys are hyper local here in like Northwest urban DC, but Grandma's place out in Falls Church. Would you guys go out there?
We're not. So we don't go out. We're Arlington right now, a little bit of Alexandria, DC, and then a couple units in Bethesda. But really, even within that realm, it's close in. And the way I describe it is, we'd love to be in every part of the city, but the market kind of decides that. If an area is deemed too far away or undesirable for our business travelers, I tell owners that up front that we can try, but for example, if it's an area that we don't know well enough, if it could sit vacant for 6 months while we try it out, and sometimes we get lucky. And I remember when I started out, there was a company that isn't around anymore that kind of did what we did, and they started a while ago, and they go, oh, we don't do anything east of 16th Street, and Northwest, and I remember hearing that. I'm like, oh wow. I'm like, well, maybe I should look into that, and that stuck with me. It's like I
Pretty
don't want to
easy.
be
Like, oh, then I'll definitely go over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's literally just a block away.
Yeah. And so so in my mind, I'm like, I need to be on top of market changes when the city changes, and I love how much the city all over is crazily improving, and it's a fantastic city, and so I remember that to kind of keep open to all areas.
So Jen, getting back to life with the partners at Compass.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about, so you said 6 agents, right?
Yes.
So we're talking about 6 of the top agents in DC, all on the same team. Tell us a little about your team and how it works at Compass.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we're all women, 9 people total, 6 full-time agents, and we are licensed in the DMV. So all 3, I would say I probably do more than the rest of the group in Virginia. And then we have a couple people who pop in Maryland. And then we just naturally all do a lot in DC. We always joke that we're a transactional team. And there are lots of great teams around the city, but we seem to have personalities that we just like to kind of get it done, take care of people, right? And then, I don't know, maybe get back to our families. But we do a nice book of business. Last year we did 217 million.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
impressive.
Really, really impressive.
Which I think I was proud of. It's a nice number.
It's a very nice number.
And it's just wonderful to be on a team with women who empower each other, right? Like good women, we like to say, who if you're having an off month, but someone else is having a great month, you cheer them on. And then our full back time people, we have back end, we have someone who does social media, which is so crucial, as you know, to the growth of business. One person who does the listings and the contracts. And it's wonderful. Yeah, we're out of Chevy Chase, but like I said,
You're
we're
all
all
over the place.
over. Right.
So with 6 agents, and I'd say like, we're talking about 6 like strong agents, I think any one of you could probably branch out and be your own team, So how does the business get split if someone calls into the partners, or like how does that work? Because you're all like, it's not like
Right.
it's not like Rob and Brent. Like Rob and Brent are the Rob and Brent group,
Right.
and then if someone sees their marketing, that's who they're gonna get, Rob and Brent.
Right.
And so how does this work?
I don't know, because I'm not getting those calls.
Okay.
No. I always joked with Meredith Margolis, because I love the alliteration, that we should have been called the Meredith Margolis team. So yes, sometimes we will, as a team, get those calls, and they will be. Sometimes we'll collaborate, 2 agents.
Sure.
So Meredith might approach me and say, "Hey, we got something, for DuPont."
Right.
That sort of thing. And we do collaborate a lot. We'll co-list. One of the members on our team, she is so fantastic about traveling with her kids every summer. And so we all take on her work, and we have a whole system for that in terms of how you're compensated. She went to William and Mary, so she has that brain, and she has helped us just be really organized. So one of the things I have loved about a team is that I think I have elevated my game. We have a lot of processes and that guides the business, right? And then of course you have to hustle, and you have to be relationship focused and help clients. But that's been tremendous. So we truly run it like a business, like you all.
Of course.
Do you guys have a team CRM?
Yeah.
Like a database. Like if you step out, then Meredith could take over your.
We do. It's through Compass.
Okay.
We do. And then we have Trello, a Trello board where we post things. So it's kind of this brain, I guess. Like the cloud for our team, the partners. So yeah.
How often do you guys sit down and meet and talk about marketing initiatives or clients or whatnot?
Not enough. Every Monday we have team meetings from 1 to 2:30, Chevy Chase, but it's kind of rapid fire, right? So other than that, it's as we need each other. We each have a one-on-one with someone else on the team once a week, and it's by phone usually, but not enough, right?
Yeah.
This business is, when you move fast, you move fast. And then I think when you have those moments where you have a moment to reflect, we should be doing more of that.
Right.
I should be doing more of that. It's important.
There's a lot of synergy created. Like people are just not coming back into the office. I'm not sure how it is at Georgetown, Max, but in our office, like when agents are in the office, like you're talking, there's a buzz. Like I have this buyer, well, I've got this listing, and sometimes deals get made by just showing up in the office.
It's so true. It's so true. And I am probably guilty of not spending enough time in the office. I should spend more. I have a really good home office. And then, of course, our cars, right?
Yep.
Et cetera. But it's the synergy, like we do property tours like you all, right? And isn't it fun to go out and preview, and you just get so inspired? And ours are Tuesday, and so it was yesterday. And you get ideas, and sometimes you make deals from them, and it's great. It's really a smart way to spend your time to help your clients. So
Yeah, I have to say, being back in the office, I mean, I really was in the office for the last 2 years. I was always there because there was no one there. It was awesome. But lately, I'm spending so much time in the car, and I'm trying to figure, this is just totally off the cuff, sorry. I'm just trying to figure out a way to actually get more work done while I'm sitting in the car, getting like all these texts and everything. I think this is why the Tesla self-driving thing, this needs to happen really soon, because I don't know like how I'm supposed to get anything done anymore. I just wanted to put that out there.
I told Meredith, when I make it big, I want a driver.
The driver.
Because I could get so much done.
Yeah, well, that's what Ryan Serhant does, but of course he's selling like $1 billion of real estate.
Yeah.
So
You can, I mean, like that's the one thing I've learned to do is with my phone, turn it into a hotspot, pull up my computer, and I can send out flyers, work on magazine ads or emails, contracts.
but then you're not in transit to the next spot.
No, I'll
So-
pull over and I'll do it.
yeah.
Because I'm usually like some kid function for like 2 or 3 hours, but I'm still working.
Right.
So pre-COVID, my husband would, do you remember this? You would Uber, you would do a shared Uber to
Yeah.
appointments. This is how different we are. I would not do this, but he did. And it was great. You did a shared Uber and you would work the whole time.
There was a car program, I think it was called Via. Anyway, that
Yeah.
was, within a zone. It was a flat rate of like $10 or something like that, ridiculous. And you wouldn't be there at exactly, you had to navigate the time a little bit, but I'm sit at my desk or sit in a car with my laptop out, and random people would come in and out, but I'm just
You're just sitting there like typing
I'm
away.
just and I was like, and it was didn't have to worry about parking, didn't have to worry about driving, and it was kind, I mean, and
Yeah.
if I had the time, the flexibility, which I usually did because I usually don't block meetings back to back, it was a great way to.
I teased you, but I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and with that pandemic thing, that business went away, that shared driving thing. But anyway,
We're supposed to be extroverts by nature, right? Salespeople. Did you pick up any clients sitting in the car? Like, what are you working on?
No.
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 You needed me in that show.
I know.
I would have been
yeah.
talking.
It's like my business partner Rob will walk into any restaurant and he'll just start talking to a random stranger about what they did last night. And I'm like, I
He's
don't
always
have that
hyped
in
up.
me. Yes.
Yeah.
He is. He's so
Yeah.
personable, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful gift.
Well,
Like he's
yes.
at L'Oreal working it.
Yes. I don't have that in me.
Yeah.
So, but you get both of you guys in a shared Uber. You guys probably sell a $3 million house.
Yeah. I might be quiet next to Rob. I don't know.
He's aggressive.
So how's the synergy between you two on a work function, right? So you have a good book of business on the rentals. As an investor, it's like, you know what, I want to take my money from DC and reallocate it to California. You got an agent for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we see people who come in both ways. I mean, so we have clients that'll come in and then say, "Hey, I'm moving, or I want to sell," and then I'll say, "I know a realtor."
Yeah.
And also Jen will have clients coming in who are investors and say, "Hey, what are you trying to, and if you want the furnished option, we'll go, the two of us and the client will go preview properties, and Jen will handle the sales side and I'll give rental estimates." And so we've got a couple clients who have bought that way. I'm thinking of a woman in Southern California, Ashley.
Investor.
Yeah. And so, she, and we have other people who will come and, like that we work together, and, we've been around a while.
Yeah, it's interesting because I am much more salesy, right, than Tim. So there was a time where I would say, "Honey, can you plug me? I want to come to your meetings. How can we?" And I think this is also what makes you so good at your job, because I tend to round up, right? And you'll be conservative. Like you will go see a property, and if it's not right, you'll tell the owner. Whereas I'd be like, "Well, we could probably make it work." And so we kind of had to work through that in the beginning because I wanted to be tagged on all his emails. I wanted to be promoted, all of that. And I had to remember that your primary job is to get places rented. It's not to sell.
Yeah.
So, but there's naturally, right, some piggybacking, especially with investors. And it's pretty cool because realtors around the city will come to Attache, right? It's not just one brokerage because it might fit a need and be valuable. So I feel it's been fun for you to see your business grow like that.
Yeah, and I mean, we work with a lot of realtors just because, as you guys know, you get clients that are like, the place sold sooner than or the place they're moving into isn't ready, and so they need something temporarily, or
Of course.
There's just a bunch of needs for it, so it's great being connected to realtors.
You get the clients like we send. Again, like I don't like to do the rentals either side of the equation.
Yeah.
So like realtors sending you their client. Again, my only thinking down the road is like, oh my God, is Jen going to steal our client? But I know, I know you guys, I know it would never happen, but it's just like, there is some of me in the background. It's like, oh, I got a good realtor.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, even for, like if we don't have a property that we know that's not in our inventory, and I know a competitor has that, we'll send that back and forth, and always in the back of your mind is like, oh, are they going to never call me again and just always go to this company to rent? And so, and it comes with being in business long enough and having a reputation and not knowing that, hey, because news like that spreads like wildfire. And I think there's a quote, I forget who said it. It's like, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to lose it, or something like that. Right. And so, that trust factor needs to exist. Otherwise, you may get one or two, but in the long run, you won't be in business very long.
We really run it right. We just would not be a business. We do run it quite separately, obviously, because I'm employed by Compass and he's at Touchettes. But yeah.
How many rentals do you guys have now? Like just I guess 2 questions, right? How many rentals do you have personally, and then how much do you manage through Stay Attache?
So we're right around a dozen that we own, and then we were above 300 before that global event happened, and then
that global event that messed up real estate.
That shall not be named, or the reason I'm saying it that way is because I feel like it's brought up too much now, right? Where it's like, and it is a big factor, but I'm getting COVID fatigue by saying the word COVID. So
Fauci event.
Exactly. So no, I think we're right around 280 right now, 280 different properties, and of those we have about 190 different owners. So it's almost one owner per property, but we have a couple owners that have several.
That's a lot of managing.
That's all.
It's a complicated business.
I would say I'm not in the property management business. I'm in the personality business.
Okay, so then what kind of tools are you using to, like, in terms of CRM or contact management, like anything? Like how do you manage all those people?
So it's complicated because traditional property management software doesn't fit. There's unfurnished year long, and then there's vacation rental, and then we're this hybrid in between where we are needing to get security deposits, and yet we need to the way it's rented is all different. So we built our own website, which kind of acts as, and I would say it's either, depending on the day, it's the best technology we ever did, and it's the worst technology we ever did, because it's super expensive, and you can customize it, and then it doesn't work, and then so I'm very bipolar on that aspect of it. In addition to that, we do use Asana for managing projects. We just switched to Buildium to handle to replace QuickBooks and more of the property management side. And then, we use a lot of we use Zapier a lot to integrate, to have the different data flows and triggers done. Zapier is pretty good when it works too.
So, okay, as a real estate couple, obviously you've owned plenty of properties that you managed for yourselves, and you're managing other properties. You're in real estate sales. In terms of you're investing money for your future, is real estate like where you primarily have your money, or are you guys diversified in other things? Like how is that managed?
Bitcoin.
It's all Bitcoin.
We didn't buy enough. I will give my husband.
You guys did buy Bitcoin. That wasn't like a joke.
I will give Tim Touchette a shout out. He bought 2 Bitcoin at $450.
There you go.
Wow.
There's a good story behind why. It was Son's lemonade stand competition thing that I thought it'd be
Yeah.
fun to
DuPont
put
Circle years ago.
on the lemonade sign that says we accept Bitcoin. So I was like, I got to buy some Bitcoin. I spent $900, and after I bought it, it went from $450 to $200, and I'm like, oh, there goes my $900. Oh well. And yeah, I didn't pay attention to it for years until recently. So anyway, but
So what is it trading at now? I mean, it's like 40,000 or something.
30 to 40,000.
yeah,
That's insane.
it got up to, yeah, it's gotten up to 60 or more. So yeah, anyway, it's fun. So yeah, I mean, 2 Bitcoin. So
Yeah, I mean,
Two
we're
Bitcoin.
heavy. We have two. We have two.
Yeah.
This
So
does too. I mean,
diversified.
you're yeah.
It's
your-
diversified.
we're
your
on the
investment
board.
worked for those 2 Bitcoin.
and we know where they are.
Yeah. Good point.
yeah.
But I would say we're heavy in real estate in Washington, but we've also done the stock market for a long time. I mean,
Sure.
I grew up, my parents were like, especially my father, pay yourself first, right? So when I was lucky enough to get into radio sales and, starting off in my 20s, I just would save a bunch, and so did Tim. And so we started early in the market, and, that's been the highs and lows of that.
Yeah, I didn't mean to like jump out with like any kind of personal question, but this is a topic
okay.
that I'm actually very interested
Yeah.
in. Like, we meet all kinds of professionals in our
Yeah.
lives, and all kinds of people just in our sphere, and it's like, you hear about people's money and where they invest it in like the weirdest ways. Like you Google them, you're like, oh, net worth. Like the first thing when you Google their name, then it's net worth comes up after that. But I just think it's interesting to have that conversation openly and see, like, just know what people are doing, especially real estate people, because we're, for me personally, like I'm in real estate and I did some real estate investing for years, played the landlord game, and I fucking hated it. Okay. It was like drove me nuts. Like,
Yeah.
it's like every time there's a vacancy, I was like, oh my God, I have to go back down there,
Right.
paint it. And it just wasn't for me, and
it's not for most people. I don't
right.
know, Tim. I think it's a whole lot.
So,
Well, I think that's why they're successful, is because people like you don't want to do the, the toilet's broke, the garbage disposal's not working.
Yeah.
So you take all of those pressures off and you shift the burden to another company that just handles all that.
totally.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it is, Max, to your point, a great open discussion, right?
Mhm.
Of where you are spending money. I mean, we, over the last couple of years, have sold off a couple of properties.
Okay.
It
Well,
just
it's been a good time to sell. I mean, the
kids-
market
right.
went up pretty quickly.
And as our kids are getting older and our son's going to college, and, you just start to look at your portfolio.
Yeah.
Because our philosophy was always to buy and hold.
Mhm.
And we have plenty of friends and clients who flip, and that's great too. But it's just been in the last couple of years, we thought we should really kind of dial in on our assets and be smart about some decisions,
Mhm.
or try to, we can never
Yeah, I mean,
quite
and,
time
you
it,
know,
but-
and things change, right? It's not only financial, but it's like, hey, this property isn't as desirable, and to make it more desirable, it's going to take this amount of time and this amount of money, or we could sell it and take this and put it into a different property, or do something else with it, So it's been, I mean, I think like with all real estate, you kind of want to have a plan and a goal, and then also be flexible.
I think it's really powerful to have like 2 members in the family, like the husband and wife, where you're keyed into the management and like that side of it, and you're in sales, because they are 2 different worlds, very much. I mean, there's two great ways to make money in the real estate world, but it's hard to do both at the same time. So if you have both brains working, that's huge.
That's a really good point. Yes. I mean, what he does, and I think he is so good at the 30,000 foot view, right? And managing people and being steady. And I am much more passionate and kind of in the moment and salesy. And so it is nice to have, I mean, I love your perspective, right? How often do I come to you and I'll be talking to you about something and you'll be like, Jen, why are you taking yourself so seriously? Let it go.
I mean, conversely, if she's like, hey, the ice maker stopped working at our house, I'm kind of like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like,
We already did that today 20 times.
don't.
Yeah, there's a
I
little bit of
can't help
that.
you. I go, can you call someone in my office or call someone else? And it's just like, it's hard to come home to
Right.
stuff that needs to be addressed at the house when, I'm kind of overseeing that for all these other people. And, we've developed a communication style to, kind of adapt to that.
It extends too to things like when you're traveling. I love Airbnb, right? All day long, you go travel, you stay there.
Oh, yeah.
But for Tim, if he walked into an Airbnb, if the studio was an Airbnb, he would see maybe a light bulb that wasn't working. He'd see things. So he likes a nice hotel, right? So it's just funny how your job really influences. Then we love to travel. So, that part of our life.
Because
Yeah.
you walk into an Airbnb, you're like, this is just another property management
Yeah,
nightmare.
I'm like, oh look, a welcome letter. Oh yeah, that oh look, and I'm kind of going, no, we stayed at one place where the owner wanted to meet us and giving us a tour, and I'm like,
No.
I got to get out of here. I'm like, I don't care where your
True story.
coffee maker is or whatever. I'm like, so and so it's like, for me, I like going to a hotel and having a front desk and stuff like that. I mean, so it doesn't need to be super fancy. It's just not someone's home.
I just took a trip recently. I'm really into Airbnb myself lately, but we did two parts of this trip. We were at beautiful Airbnb in Joshua Tree, and then
Nice.
after a couple of nights there, believe me, there were some things going on there. Okay, so it's someone's house in the desert. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
Right.
And then the next 3 nights we were at the resort in Palm Springs, which is just like such a relief. Everything's just done.
Yes.
Yes.
The room is made.
Yes.
It's like it's
a treat.
Yeah.
It's a
I've
treat.
never stayed at an Airbnb.
What?
I'm not sure that we had an Airbnb at our house, one of our houses in Capitol Hill. We did that for like 6 months, and I absolutely hated it. It's like had their own cookies, their own coffee. The kids are running around. It's too loud because everything is based on the reviews.
Yeah.
Absolutely hated hosting as an Airbnb. I've never stayed in one. I'm not sure that I ever will.
You're not going to be a
Interesting.
super host.
Absolutely
That's not in your future.
No. Not in my no.
Well, there are other companies that manage those too, and
That's
that
right.
seems that's a really popular thing. We'll see how that market ebbs and flows as
Yeah.
things change around here.
Have you guys thought about doing that? As Max mentioned, like I guess VRBOs with some of your clients, or super hosting and being the face of their Airbnb.
We haven't. I mean, we looked at it a little bit, but it's different enough, and it's we set up. From my perspective, we've set up such a long time to build up a reputation that we're not Airbnb, right? Because people go, oh, you do short-term rentals, oh, you're blah blah. Either they're excited or scared or angry or whatever. And I'm like, we're this little niche in between those two, and really at the end of the day, I prefer to be in the that little niche. The way I describe it is almost anyone can rent a place for a year unfurnished. Almost anyone can stay somewhere for a night or two. It's very hard to find people who can rent for 30 days or longer. Like, thinking through my friends, I'm like, gosh, who do I know would be able to rent for 3 to 4 months? And so, that market is just really small.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided, hey, let's focus on that and let's try to be the best at that market, and go from there.
It's great. And another interesting aspect of that is also the tenancy issues that could come up in DC for a potential landlord or an investor who wants to use your service. That gets them away from the potential of the nightmare tenant who destroys the property, doesn't want to get out. They're still paying rent, but they're a problem. So at least there's like a beginning and an end to it.
Yeah. Well, and we've been approached. So the majority of condo buildings, as you're probably aware, have a 6-month or 12-month minimum. So
Right.
We're only in a handful of 6-month minimum buildings because a lot of our clients, have struggled to commit for 6 months, and that's fine. So we price it lower. But we've had smaller buildings, condo associations, approach us because they said, hey, we had a 6-month minimum, but we're willing to reduce it to 3 months because they had a couple students in there who they unfurnished and they couldn't get them out, and they were having parties and they were just, causing disruption. And all of a sudden they're like, wow, there's almost a benefit to having business travelers in our building who are there for several months at a time. And we also know if they cause a lot of problems, they'll be leaving. I mean, some of our renters will stay for 2 years plus, but again, on average, it's 3 to 4 months on average, and a lot of people will rent and then extend 6 months or longer. But yeah,
I've always thought, and again, just for my own edification, but you guys could sign a lease with the client for 6 months or a year through the firm, and then sublet it to whoever comes through on a 30-day basis or whatnot.
That is a model that we've never really adapted. And I think we really don't see that. And I don't know why, but I feel like, it's too complicated, probably on the company side, to kind of swap people in between. And so even if we've signed with companies to rent directly and they pay directly, As far as I know, it's always been, just that person for that
Right.
stay. Now they could rent a 3-bedroom for 3 employees, and we work with like production crews who are doing a documentary, and they're here for months, and so we've actually been working a lot with Sweetgreen as they expand. They've been bringing in like 2 managers for 6 to 8 weeks on training before they get sent out to a new restaurant and stuff like that. So you see that, but they don't rent and then swap people in and out typically.
Okay. I have one more question, and then we can wrap. But the smart cars. So we were talking about transportation a little while ago. Were those were used for your managers to get around town, or just for advertising? Tell us a little about this. You had the smart car and some other kind of vehicle too, right?
Yeah. So first of all, it's sad news. They've stopped making smart cars.
Right.
So we have the 2019 electric version right now, and they stopped making them after 2019. So we're gonna don't know what we're gonna do. But the smart cars were designed primarily because they're very eye-catching on their own.
Yeah.
And then wrapping them, we wrap them with a map, and we have these stickers on them that are supposed to be move them around and show like where our inventory is and stuff. And they're also kind of like stickable business cards. So that's been kind of fun. And so we've got a 3-wheeled vehicle too that we bought from West Virginia that
Does that work?
is low. It's road. You don't drive it on the highway.
It's
so,
legal to drive around.
Yeah. And I think there'll be more of those vehicles coming out. We actually just put. I haven't told you this. There's a solar vehicle we just put money down on, so it's coming out later this year.
I haven't told you this.
Yeah, I haven't told you this on air. Tell Max how many smart cars you have.
We have 1 smart car.
Just the one?
But people will see it.
I mean,
people will say, "Oh, I see your cars everywhere," and it's like, yeah, we have.
Yeah, see, it confused me.
Yeah, so it's and So no, it's good marketing. So we've just trying to do stuff a little bit differently.
I'll borrow it sometimes especially if I'm going to the hill or something and
Right.
parking is tight, right? It's a great little vehicle.
I love that 3-wheel car. It's great. I always see. I think it's Q or R Street. I always see it like just
our street.
Our street.
Yeah.
parking a bike.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, I think, guys, thanks so much for coming out today and joining us. We
Thank you.
always finish up with some rapid fire questions
Sure.
from Brent. So Brent, hit him.
Great.
Quick 5 here. What is your guilty pleasure?
I love Happy Ice Cream.
That's the brand.
Yeah, it's
Happy Ice
Comey's
Cream.
Happy Ice Cream on 17th. It's
Oh, okay.
unbelievable. It's a fortune for a pint, but it's like the best thing you've ever had in your life. Happy Ice Cream.
I'll do it.
I mean, I think mine is not that interesting. It's I scroll articles at night, and it's just like a mind numbing, like reading through articles. It gives me a lot of
Pleasure.
satisfaction.
Any just articles about what?
Well, that like Medium is you
Sure.
can pick all kinds of topics, and then news articles. But I stay away from politics, and so it's usually technology or business management stuff, or just kind of raising kids, life stuff. So I
Sounds like the stuff I read.
I read all it's just.
And I'm sitting next to him eating ice cream.
That's great. Favorite restaurant somewhere in the DMV.
So my answer to this is because I have neophilia. I am a lover of all things new. So my favorite restaurant is the one I haven't been to yet.
Okay.
And I love going to a restaurant like 10 different times, the same restaurant. I love the Dabney. I think that's
Dabney.
always just a beautiful choice.
Last concert you guys went to.
Oh, who did we go to? No, REO Speedwagon?
No, we saw Air Supply.
Air Supply.
Supply.
And
we saw Air Supply.
not only that, but we went backstage and met them.
Oh wow.
We did.
Graham.
We knew
and,
every song. We had
Where?
so much fun.
Where did you see Air Supply?
That was at MGM.
MGM,
Okay.
pre-COVID.
Got it.
Right, 1 million people. It was fun. It was really fun.
That was fun.
I'm debating whether to take the kids to Justin Bieber. He's coming to town June 4th or June 10th or somewhere in that.
Do they like Justin Bieber?
I like Justin Bieber probably more. Well, I know I like them more than they do, but
I take them.
TMI.
I think that. Yeah, no, I think you should take them.
Take them.
Definitely take them.
100%
You gotta,
take
you
them.
gotta
I've
do
been
it.
looking.
Such fun.
There's not a lot of tickets, so I'm looking for 4. They're in the second deck. Wouldn't put them on the floor because everybody's standing. They won't be able to see. but somewhere on the second deck where they can see, and my eyesight's shot, so I won't be able to see, but that's all right.
I think you should splurge. I mean, coming out of the last couple of years, what a treat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do it.
Favorite vacation spot?
Well, we had a very special trip to Hawaii over Christmas, which was absolutely fantastic.
That was really good.
Any issues getting there with the pandemic, like quarantine
Easy.
here or there?
Easy.
No,
We weren't sure, but easy.
I think one that we went to a couple of years ago was we went to Turkey and like Istanbul and Bodrum and Ephesus. I mean, just still blows me away to this day. So I as much as I'd like our kids to go soon, it's a little less excited about it politically, just all the stuff that's going on. But I thought that was an amazing vacation.
Wow.
That was my next question. Like, the kids did not go to that trip?
Not on Turkey. No.
They were not invited.
They were not
They were
invited.
not invited.
We like adult trips too.
Yeah.
I hear that.
And I did an individual trip to Uganda to go gorilla trekking a number of years ago with a friend.
Whoa.
And that was really amazing. So I recommend that.
World travelers. Two different perspectives here. You got the rental market and then the housing market. You guys, any predictions for the rest of 2022?
I mean, I see it as nothing but growth. I mean, I see everything coming out from a long slumber and people excited to get out and explore and rent and work. And I mean, my prediction is just up, up, up.
Have you seen a ton of people come back, out of the pandemic, like they're coming back to the city and they need short term? Like, is it taken off the last 6 months?
Yeah, I would say it probably started kicking in late March, early April, and then it's just been, and it's really exciting to see all of that. I mean, it's even like companies that we hadn't worked with in a while. They're like, oh, we're back, and we're doing this program, and it's just been great. We work with performers who, for at the Kennedy Center and all this other stuff, and it's just like, it's been great. So yeah.
I love hearing you say that because I'll hear tidbits of that at home. But us being realtors, isn't that wonderful to
Yes,
hear? People
totally.
coming back, and I feel like COVID was kind to certain industries, right?
Mm-hmm.
Real estate, and then others we say COVID casualty, and it was tougher on rentals.
For sure.
So, yeah, my outlook may be similar to yours, just being in the market. Spring market started January 10th. I think it was frenetic this spring. That's how I think of it. And then, started to pivot a couple weeks ago. I think the housing market, right, we still see multiples. I competed the other night, Mount Pleasant, 6 offers. But, other places we see price reductions. And I think buyers have either A, found a house, B, are fatigued, or C, right, summer's around the corner, they'll regroup in the fall. So it's a little weird right now. That's what our team is seeing. I do think condos have been more robust. I've had a few offers, multiples on some of my listings. So that's felt good, right? Because condos just took such a hard hit. So that's good too. And I think also plays into what you're saying, Tim, that people are coming back to the city. And they're okay with smaller spaces.
Yep.
Well, Jen and Tim Touchette, thanks so much for coming out today. Jen with Compass Real Estate, Tim with Stay Attache. Awesome stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We always give a donation to the charity of our guest choice. So is there anyone you want to give a shout out to today?
Oh, I love that. I would say Best Buddies. My sister has Down syndrome, so I love Best Buddies. That's really kind.
Absolutely.
It's great. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Keyed In with your hosts, Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. For more information on selling your home, find us online at KeyedInPodcast.com. Remember to subscribe to Keyed In on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Keyed In Podcast, at Rabin Max, and at Brent E. Jackson. And follow Max on TikTok at MaxwellRabin_properties.